players can freely roam around the 3D environment and explore new places. We decided to design the game to be as simple and enjoyable as possible, focusing more on the excitement of dashing through the stages, without having to think about, complex game controls.
Stop asking them to delay Frontiers. This is their vision. Alright, so as you already know, we've gotten 2 major trailers for Sonic Frontiers, and that naturally means, since Kishimoto is directing it, we should be expecting something similar to the meta era when it comes to the movement and physics and the overall quality, which usually means more mid. But as we are Sonic fans, a lot of people are going to be on that hopium copium and coming up with all sorts of reasons why everything's going to be a-okay this time, even though it wasn't last time with Forces or the time before that with Lost World. But this time will be different, right? And this led into a very interesting debate that we are going to get into full steam ahead today. But if you're subscribed to the channel already, please make sure to subscribe. We are trying to hit 100,000 subscribers and hopefully 70,000 subscribers before Sonic Frontiers comes out. So what am I talking about today? No, we're not talking about the combat gameplay. I've already talked about that enough in previous videos, and quite frankly, I don't care that much. We're here to talk about the movement and physics, right? Because people ask, why have I written off the game already as more mid? And pretty much that's why. The core movement and physics and level design and automation is why I've already written off the game as not being more than mid. In my eyes, for my own personal score, I don't see this game hitting even a 7. Anything from 5.0 to 6.9 out of 10 is where I would place this game by the time it comes out. I've already determined that based on the movement and physics and the level of automation that I've already been shown. Do not tell me that I cannot decipher this based on 7 minutes of watching the movement and the world. I know what I want in video games. I've known since I was a kid, okay? I knew Sonic Heroes was my favorite game before I started playing it. When I was in the daycare as a child outside Disneyland Paris and I saw the kid with the GameCube in the cabinet and he was playing Ocean Palace, I knew before I put my hands to controller that I was going to love it. I know what I like. Okay, 5.0 to 6.9 max. Now, as for what it scores from critics and fans, I can't really say for sure, right? I mean, I can make educated guesses. I'm just saying for me, that's where I'm putting it. Anyway, I'm not really here to dunk on Frontiers. I'm here to discuss the discourse surrounding Frontiers, right? Because as we know, Sonic fans have been on that copium. And one of the things that I mentioned when I first criticized the exploration was the lack of momentum, right? A lot of people have criticized that, people that like momentum in Sonic games, aka most Sonic fans. But as we get older and we realize that the people that grew up with the meta era are now also getting older, they grew up in an era of Sonic that mostly didn't focus on momentum, right? Because out of all the games in the 2010s, really only Generations and Mania had momentum, and Mania was a classic game. I'm not gonna say there was absolutely zero momentum in these games at all. I mean, Sonic 4 Episode 1 and 2 came out in the 2010s, and they had some momentum, right? They weren't like the classics, but there was some there. Obviously, if you run uphill, you would slow down in certain games like Lost World, things like that. Maybe not so much Sonic 4 on that front, but it wasn't to the level that we wanted. Generations had a good amount for a boost game as well as Unleashed, but Unleashed was the 2000s obviously. But we have gotten to a generation of people that seem to not care about momentum. At least that's what it seems like, because when I criticize the lack of momentum and the automation in Frontiers gameplay, some people try to dismiss it as, oh, it's just a boost thing. Stop living in the adventure era. Stop living in the 90s or the early 2000s or whatever. And then I post a clip proving that you're wrong because I showed Unleashed and Generations, the non-Kishimoto boost games, had momentum. And quite frankly, Rush does as well, but I couldn't be bothered to capture my DS. I couldn't find my DS at the time. It was just a Kishimoto problem, right? Or whoever did it within his camp. And then when I did that and proved to them that you can have momentum in a boost game, then they turned around and said it's not important. It's like they're moving the goalpost to keep defending Frontiers, right? Because I guarantee you if Frontiers had momentum, they wouldn't be complaining, right? Right? But my clip got posted on Twitter, out of context of course, and people seem to think that I was showing off that Unleashed and Generations had rail momentum just because I was nitpicking rail momentum, which you wouldn't even notice in boost games anyway because you're holding the boost. First of all, that's not true. You would notice it when you're going down on the rails because you would speed up. And second of all, yes, it would be less noticeable than say an adventure era game where there is no boost, but it was more so just there to highlight the momentum in general. I could have used non-rail examples of momentum in Unleashed and recent generations that is lacking in forces. It was just one example of momentum. People seem to fixate on the rail situation on its own and turn it into a rail debate and do rails need momentum. It was just about momentum in general and how boost games have had it. Rush has it, Unleash has it, Generations has it, but there's a lot less of it in Colors and even less of it, or barely any of it, in something like Lost World and Forces, right? That's what it was about. Apparently these people are more than fine with holding the boost button in Colors or Forces to go on rails, but they can't hold the action button in Sonic Heroes to go down with momentum. It didn't put a booster before the bottomless pit, so the game is bad. Okay, well, you know, I'm not here to defend the GOAT or even come at people for not liking momentum, because you know what, that's not what this is about, right? The fact of the matter is, it's okay to not like rail momentum. It's okay to not like momentum. It's okay to love tons and tons of automation in your Sonic level design. Do you know why? Because everyone is different and everyone has preferences. Some people suck and they want things to be easier. And again, that's not shade. I know it sounds like shade, but me personally, I like having more control. I'm not saying it needs to be like some of these 3D Sonic fan games that have absolutely no splines whatsoever, right? I think the level of automation that was in something like Heroes was perfect for me, which is one of the reasons why I love it so much. There was automation. Every 3D Sonic game and 2D Sonic games have had automation, but there's a different level in every game. And whatever level you like is up to you, right? What you think is too restrictive or too freeing, I guess. But for me, when it comes to Sonic, I like to have more control. I like to have control of the physics and the movement. And if there were difficulty options in a Sonic game, I would pick the highest difficulty because that's what I love. I love Sonic. I love 3D platforms. I love challenging myself when it comes to things like that. But I understand that other people may not feel the same way, because when I play other genres of games that I'm not as good at, like shooters or any other third-person kind of action-adventure experience, I don't crank up to the highest setting. I put it on normal. I mean, as a Mega Man noob, I played Mega Man 11 and I had to put down the easiest setting after like dying on normal. I thought normal would be normal, but it had like 2 lives and I sucked and I lowered the setting. I had to swallow my pride. It happens, right? I wouldn't do that for Sonic, but for other franchises, I've done it before. So I understand, right? And this goes back to, again, something that we tend to do a lot on this channel. Blame Sonic Team, right? Like at the end of the day, difficulty options should be a thing in Sonic games, and for some reason, they still aren't. They want to be AAA so bad, but they don't do the basic shit that AAA games do, which is difficulty options. Now you might be thinking, well, Forces had them. Yeah, sure. You had the normal and hard mode, and normal is for beginners who haven't played a Sonic game before, and hard is for those who've played a Sonic game before. And the main difference is your rank and best time will not be recorded in normal mode, and your rings will cap at 100. Aside from that, they're the same. Such differences. Oh wait, let's not forget, in hard mode, you lose all your rings when you get hit, whereas in normal mode, you lose like 20 rings or something like that. Like, ooh. This is a game that has checkpoints everywhere and no lives. Like, it's not that big of a difference, right? The game was designed to be easy, and these two modes don't really make much of a difference in the grand scheme of things, right? People on Twitter have been mad at me and saying that I'm roasting Kishimoto when game development is more than just one person. And yes, game development is more than just one person, because Nakamura has been guilty of saying shit, Iizuka's been guilty of saying shit, and I'm sure other people in that team that we haven't seen have been saying the same kind of shit, the same kind of philosophies that they've been dealing with, okay? It's Sonic Team. Current Sonic Team are like this. The only reason I've been bringing up Kishimoto's name so much is because everything he's directed has been shit that I didn't like. So when I saw that Kishimoto was directing this game, I clearly went, I'm probably not going to like this based on his track record. And that's a fair assumption to make. That doesn't mean he's the only person responsible for current Sonic Team. Sonic Team's problem is that they design these games with the easy in mind, and then they just punish everyone else who wants more of a challenge. When in reality, what you should be doing with a AAA game is designing it with the middle average user in mind, and then adding easy and extremely hard modes afterwards. You start from the middle. That's where the average player is. You don't start with automated forces and then put a hard mode and say, well, in this mode you lose all your rings, when hard mode was just regular mode in all the previous games. They need to have more depth in their difficulty options. Now, not to bring up the GOAT again, but Sonic Heroes did this pretty well, with Team Rose being the easy mode, Team Sonic being the normal mode, Team Dark being the hard mode, right? Chaotix is like a side thing because it's mission mode. Chaotix difficulty really ranges from the easiest to the hardest, depending on the level. It's really like the fluctuating mode, honestly. But there's a further level you could take it than even even Heroes, right? You look at AAA games today, like first-person shooters are some of the hardest games to play when you get to the competitive level, but not everyone wants to play on that level, right? They have settings like aim assist, where it helps people aim because they don't want to do it manually. And for third-person action adventure games in general, they got like levels of combat. Even with like games with RPG elements, they got difficulty levels for the combat. For games like the Assassin's Creed games, some of the later games like Assassin's Creed Origins, they want you to search for things in the open world, and how many hints and clues they give you is a difficulty option. If you want it to be like just fucking figure it out, they've got an option for that. If you're someone who gets lost easily like I do, they've got more clues and more hints and shit for you. So they've got options like that available, right? So let's take rail grinding as an example for Sonic. There's plenty of other ways where this could apply, right? But let's just use rail grinding as an example. Rail momentum makes rail grinding more interactive, right? Because without the momentum, you could just boost on the rail or whatever, or go on the rail and it'll just take you to the end, you know, just like what Forces does, just like what Frontiers does, just like what Colors does. There's like a base level of speed that you always go out on the rail so that you can't mess up. Whereas in SA2 and Heroes, that's not the case, right? If you don't have enough speed, you can't make it up the loops. Same with Unleashed, same with Generations, but they have a lot of boosters there to help you. Heroes had more boosters. SA2 was really the hardest when it came to rail grinding. SA2 had one feature in its rail grinding that has never been in rail grinding in Sonic games since, and that is balancing. You had to tilt the left analog stick to balance on the rail as you were moving on the rail. And if you didn't tilt properly, you could fall off the edge of the rail, right? And I guess they figured that was too hard for people. I mean, I fell off the rail as a kid, and as a result, they removed it in Heroes and never put it back in a Sonic game since. I'm not saying I didn't like it, I'm just saying I did fall off. But even after removing the balancing, yes, you would never fall off the side of the rail by not being balanced, but you still had to maintain momentum. And they pretty much kept that for Heroes, Shadow, Unleashed, Generations. 06 was very light on momentum, so 06 didn't have good rail grinding. But they kept it for quite a few games until the meta era just completely scrapped it off the Generations. Now, if we had difficulty options, we'd be able to just toggle things like this, right? You could have an easy mode that makes the rail super automated like the majority of the meta era, where you just go on it and it keeps you going forward. With plenty of boosters on the rails to make sure you don't run out of speed if you somehow run out of boost, or if it's not a boost game, then I guess if you run out of momentum and don't know how to build it. And then you can have the main or the normal mode where the rails have momentum and you have to actually keep that momentum going to go fast on the rails, right? There would still be some boosters on the rails in these sections, but obviously not as many as the easy mode. And maybe with the hardest setting, it becomes like SA2, where you have to keep the momentum going and still balance on the rails, right? So AAA developers who actually give a shit would usually look at what their fan base wants, and they'll see that there's people of different skill levels who want different things, and they would cater to those things in different options, right? There is really no reason for infighting in the community to exist as to what is best for rail momentum, or should we even have it, or how much automation is the correct amount. It should be up to the team that makes the games to cater to their audience, which is a wide variety of people with different skill sets and different preferences. However, unfortunately, Sonic has always had this one-size-fits-all mentality, which has really pissed me off because they always pick the wrong size, right? Their whole mentality recently has been to make the games easy and automated because they think that's what people want. And yes, there are some people in the community who seem to like this automated gameplay, but I'm telling you, it's not the majority, because if it was the majority, games like Forces would have scored really well on sites like Metacritic amongst the users. Even the critics aren't scoring these games highly, so clearly making them automated is not helping your case, Sonic team. I'm talking to them like they're listening, they don't give a fuck about me. You need to recognize that not everyone wants piss easy gameplay, right? I need to play some clips from Nakamura when he was talking about Forces, because you guys kind of forget that their design mentality really is to make things easy.
Basically, you just run towards the goal.
Since it's a long-running series, the gameplay of this latest game was designed to be easy for new users.
Many games feature complex and intricate gameplay. However, with Sonic, it's more sloppy, but easy. Above everything else, we wanted this game to be a non-stop action experience. Often with games, there are many moments where one must take time to aim before shooting, but in this game, you simply press and hold the button to attack. So you can really enjoy ultimately just dashing like a maniac through the stages.
This emphasis on simplicity can be seen throughout the game. The game automatically switches between characters depending on user command.
As a result, the player doesn't need to think about switching characters. Instead of sticking to Sonic's traditional style of gameplay, we decided to design the game to be as simple and enjoyable as possible, focusing more on the excitement of dashing through the stages. without having to think about, complex game controls.
Keeping the gameplay simple, it aims to reach out to a greater number of players.
Well, you can tell from these clips that they've decided what is best for Sonic, and that's to make things fast, easy, and automated, and everyone should just like it. And they haven't gotten the memo that not everyone's gonna like that. And maybe some people do, but until you give options to those who don't want that, you're always gonna piss people off, right? They talk about how making it easier will appeal to a wider audience, but they forget one thing. Not everyone wants games to be easy. Just because the people that want harder games can technically beat the easy games doesn't mean they're having fun doing it. That's why not every single movie is the lowest age rating in the world, because sometimes you want something that caters to adults, whether it's 15 or 18 or whatever. 15 is not an adult, you know what I mean. They have these sections for a reason, because they want to include certain themes that not everyone can see. It's about catering to specific groups. And it's the beauty of games like Mario Maker, for example, where it's like so many people are making levels that there is difficulty for everyone, right? You've got the piss easy levels like the Auto Marios and the whole right to wins. You got regular easy levels where you actually have to do shit, but it's still easy. You got normal levels, and you got tough levels that provide somewhat of a challenge. Then you got those levels that I would love the most, the ones that take like a couple hours to beat, but they're like really tough ones, like wall jumping, speed running challenges, shit like that. And then you got the next level, the Kaizo shit, shell jumps, all sorts of shit like that, really stringent timing, things like that. And then you got a level above that, which is the unclearable levels, the levels that you see one Twitch streamer spend like 12 fucking hours playing that same level until they beat it, just to become the first person to beat. You got everything covered, and obviously there's fan-made content there, so it's going to be a lot easier to do something like that there. I'm not saying you need that many options for Sonic Frontiers, but at the bare minimum, something less automated for those of us who want that, those of us who want momentum, those of us who want to be able to control our movement on rails, control our movement downhill, not have everything move at the same fucking speed, right? I honestly think Sonic Team don't give the players enough credit, but I mean, I don't see this changing anytime soon. I was just stating my opinions, man. Again, as I said, I'm not really upset about the situation of Frontiers, because I knew this was gonna happen when I saw that Kishimoto was directing it, when they told us back in May last year. So I'm getting exactly what I expected here. I've seen a lot of more angry responses to Frontiers, and it's understandable because that's how angry I got with Forces, but I think because I've done it before now, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I expected Kishimoto. It is what it is. It's going to be, again, for me, anywhere from a 5.0 to a 6.9. We'll see exactly where it lands once we actually get the game, but until then, we just wait for more gameplay, which we're getting on Tuesday. I'm going to be streaming that. But yeah, I want to know what you guys think about this topic. Do you think Sonic Team should be doing a better job with difficulty options? And what kind of difficulty options would you like to see in a Sonic game, and what would be in those different levels, right? Do you think there should be difficulty options for momentum, difficulty options for rings and health, difficulty options for combat, difficulty options for level design? And of course, a big shout out to all my channel members. If you want to become a channel member, you can click the join button next to the subscribe button. But yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell. Make sure to check out the non-Sonic channel. The link will be in the description. But that's all I have to say right now. So, Premy out.